Hi everyone. So now we are starting with the next concept on compilers, and that is top down parsing. As the name itself indicates, we are moving the parsing logic from top to down. Okay, so that means we are starting with the starting symbol of the grammar, and then we are moving downwards till the actual string has been deduced. So in top-down parsing, we'll start with the starting symbol of the grammar and we keep on substituting the productions till we reach the end user string. So I have a simple example for you all over here. This is a grammar that I have defined, where type is a non-terminal which derives to simple or id or array open bracket simple close bracket of type. So these are three different options which your type non-terminal can take. Similarly, this simple non-terminal can reduce to three different options. Okay, so type have three different options to be taken. Simple also have three different options to be taken. Clear? Now there is an input string that is given by the user, and that is array open bracket num dot dot num close bracket of an integer. So this is the input string that is provided by the user, array open bracket num dot dot num close bracket of integer. So the task of us over here is to deduce this string from the starting symbol type. So from starting symbol type, I selected the option number 3. So I replaced type with this option number 3. Then the simple, I replaced it with option number 3 of simple. So I replaced simple with num dot dot num. Then I replaced the type with simple. So type is replaced with simple. Then I replace simple with integer. So I replace simple with integer. Now if you just check the leaf nodes, it is what we intended. So in top-down parsing, I started off with the starting symbol. Then I replaced type with the third option. So that I wrote here. Then I replaced this symbol with its third option. So which is this. Then I replaced type with simple over here. Then I replaced this simple with integer. So from top to down, I kept on substituting productions, and over here if I just focus on my leaf nodes, I got what I intended to get. So this is top down parsing. Start with the start symbol and end when your entire string is deduced from the productions. Okay. So now this is an example of a backtracking top-down parser. Backtracking top-down parser is one in which again we start from the starting symbol of the grammar and we work towards getting the user input string, and if we are not able to get the user input string properly, and if following another option in the grammar we can get it, then we definitely backtrack and choose the next option from the grammar. So we keep on doing a backtracking till the user input string is deduced or parsed. So in backtracking, we are given a flexibility to backtrack the option that we selected if the approach in which we are trying to get the user input parsed is not happening correctly. So I'll give you a simple example that will help you all in understanding backtracking top-down parsers. So this is the grammar that I have here. Input string is this CAD. So at the start, input pointer is pointing to C. So since it is top down, I start with the starting symbol. Okay, so I replace starting symbol with its production CAD. So the input pointer is pointing to the first character of the input, that is C. Is C matching with this C? Yes. So increment the pointer. Then I replace this A. After I increment the pointer, small a is not matching with capital A, right? So I replace capital A with its first option, which is AB. Is small a matching with small a now? Yes. So I increment the pointer and now it points to D. Is B matching with D? No. So since B is not matching with D, okay, I am not able to parse this input string properly. So I am given a chance to backtrack my decision, and selecting A gives A. So when I select A gives A by backtracking, now C matches with C, A matches with A, and D matches with D. Simple. So I was allowed to backtrack my option selection so as to match my input string with the grammar. Understood? I'll explain this again. So these were the productions, those were given to us, and this was the input string given. So I replaced the starting symbol with CAD. C was matching with C, so I incremented the pointer. Now capital A is not matching with small a because it's a non-terminal. So I selected the first option of capital A, that was AB. Now C was matching with C, small a was matching with small a, but small b was not matching with small d. Since B was not matching with D, the option that I selected was incorrect. So I am given a chance to backtrack and select the second option for A, which I selected first option for A over here, right? Since that is not helping us out in matching this input string, I am given a chance to backtrack this decision and select a second option for A. So I selected a second option for A, which was A, and now CAD matches CAD. So in backtracking top-down parsers, I am given the flexibility to change my decision and select a different option in the production if selected a particular option I am not able to find out the match. Because I selected the first option here, but B was not matching with D. That's why I was given a chance to backtrack and select a second option for A. After selecting second option for A, I was able to match the leaf nodes with the input string. Clear? So this is backtracking top-down parser. So these are the recursive procedures which I have written here for the backtracking top-down parsers. So the same grammar I have taken as an example. S gives CAD. Now this is a procedure for S. Okay. So if input symbol is small c, then advance, meaning it will advance the input pointer. If input symbol is C, then advance. So advance the input pointer. Then check if A, meaning if A gives you true, because A is again a non-terminal which will have its production of its own, which will have the procedure of its own. Just like S non-terminal have a procedure of its own, capital is also another non-terminal which will have a procedure of its own. So if A is satisfied, then check whether the input symbol is small d. If input symbol is D, then advance the pointer and return true. Here I am advancing the pointer so that this entire token is processed. So it's a very simple procedure. If input is small c, then advance, then you check whether this A returns true. Procedure for this A returns true. If yes, check whether input symbol is D. If yes, then we have matched the entire thing. Advance the pointer and return true. Now this is a procedure for production for A. Okay. So now please remember here, this is a backtracking parser. So we should be able to provide a provision here for backtracking. How will you provide the provision for backtracking? We need to save the pointer so that if you want to backtrack, I can backtrack it at a particular position. So what I am doing is input pointer, when it was pointing over here, I am saving it into variable called isave. Then I am checking, is input symbol small a? Yes. Then advance, check if next input symbol is B. If yes, advance and return true. That means AB is matched. Else, okay, if AB was matched, I am returning true from here itself. The very moment it comes down, that means AB was not matched. That time what I do, I backtrack. How can I backtrack? Because inputs pointer was saved into some variable for us before updating it. Before updating, the input pointer was saved into some variable. So I again get that value and save it into input pointer. So this is as good as I am backtracking. And now I check whether input symbol is small a. If yes, advance and return true. Else, meaning if none of these two options are satisfied, return false. Clear? So this is a plain backtracking top-down parser. The very moment I say backtracking, we should provide a provision for backtrack. How can we do it? By saving the input pointer into some variable, so that if after following some option, if something doesn't match as per our expectation, we can of course backtrack by using that variable contents. So this is a very simple example for explaining backtracking top-down parser. So here I had two options. One option was AB, second option was A. So I save the input pointer just for backtracking purpose into a variable. Then I check if input symbol is A, then I advance the input pointer. Check if input symbol is B. If yes, I advance the input pointer and I return true. If I do not return a true here, that means input was not matched with AB. So whatever input pointer I saved into variable, I use that content and I reset my input pointer. Then I check whether input symbol is A. If yes, advance true. Now this else is if none of those two options are satisfied. I return false. Okay. So what are the different difficulties that we face in top-down backtracking parsers? So first difficulty is the left recursion. If the grammar is left recursive, then it can go into infinite loop. Second problem is backtracking. If the grammar is huge, we have to backtrack n number of times. And third problem is the order in which alternatives are tried can affect the language that is accepted. If 99% of the times we are selecting a wrong option and then backtracking, then it is simply affecting the time in which a particular program can be parsed. Hence these are the three difficulties in top-down backtracking parsers. First is left recursion. If there is a left recursion, it will go in infinite loop. Suppose there is a backtracking involved over here, then depending on the option that is selected, if the option selected is wrong, we have to simply backtrack, and it wastes a lot of time and effort. Third is order in which alternatives are tried impacts a lot, because if you are trying the alternatives in the wrong manner, then it will create issues for us. It will take lots of time for a language to get accepted, right? Since we have these issues with a backtracking top-down parser, hence people came up with non-backtracking top-down parsers. Again, here the concept of top-down parser remains the same. I start with the starting symbol and I work towards getting the user input string. But in backtracking, I was allowed to backtrack. So in non-backtracking top-down parsers, I am not allowed to backtrack. So non-backtracking parser, we have recursive descent parser. So recursive descent parser is one in which it uses recursive procedures to recognize its input with no backtracking. I repeat, a recursive descent parser is one in which it uses the recursive procedures to recognize its input with no backtracking. So for a grammar, to make it recursive descent parser, we have to perform following two very important steps. So we have to perform following two important steps to make a grammar eligible for a recursive descent parser. So what are those steps? First is we have to eliminate left recursion. We already have learned how to eliminate left recursion, right? We know how to eliminate direct and indirect left recursions. Then second step is perform left factoring. We have also learned how to perform left factoring, wherein whatever is maximum string that is common from left, write it once, and for uncommon stuff, introduce new productions. So we have to eliminate left recursion and we have to perform left factoring. So only then the grammar will be eligible for a recursive descent parser. So for a given grammar, I have this grammar that is given to you all. So let's eliminate left recursion first. So there is a direct left recursion here. A gives A alpha or beta. So how to eliminate left recursion? A gives A alpha or beta is replaced with A gives beta A dash. A gives beta A dash, and A dash gives alpha A dash or epsilon. So A dash gives alpha A dash or epsilon. Similarly here, A gives A alpha or beta. How to convert this? A gives beta A dash, and A dash gives alpha A dash or epsilon. I am using those rules. And F, there is no left recursion. Now check whether the grammar is left factored, meaning more than two or more options are having same string which is equal from left hand side. So these are the two options which are not starting with same symbol. These are the two options which are not starting with same symbol. These are the two options which are not starting with same symbol. That means this grammar is already left factored. Left factoring is a concept in which we try to find out a string that is common from left to right on the right hand side of the production. So here it's already left factored because there are no not even a single instance where two or more options are starting with the same characters on the right hand side. Okay, so I have eliminated left recursion, I have performed left factoring. Now this grammar is ready for a recursive descent parser. Please remember, in exams if you will get any grammar and you are asked to write a recursive descent parser, you have to eliminate left recursion first and you have to perform left factoring to the grammar. After you eliminate left recursion and after you perform left factoring, only then it is eligible for recursive descent parser. So now let's write recursive procedures for the latest grammar after performing these two steps. Okay. So over here the first production is E gives T E dash. So in the procedure for E, I call procedure for T and I call procedure for E prime. E prime is nothing but E dash. Okay. So for procedure for E, I call procedure for T and I call procedure for E prime. For procedure for T, I call procedure for F and I call procedure for T prime. For procedure for E prime, I check whether input symbol is plus. If input symbol is plus, then I call advance so that it will increment the input pointer. So if input symbol is plus, then I advance it, then I call function T and I call function E prime. Very easy. Okay. Then my next function is for T prime. For T prime, it's very simple. I check if input symbol is asterisk. If input symbol is asterisk, then I advance the pointer, then I call function for F, I call function for T prime. What about procedure for F? I check whether input symbol is open bracket, then I call advance so that the next stuff can be processed. Okay. I check whether input is ID here. Okay. If input is ID, then I call advance. That's it. Otherwise, there is a second option available. Else if I check whether input symbol is open bracket. If it is open bracket, I advance. Then I call function for E. Okay. Then I check whether input symbol is close bracket. If yes, I advance. Else I throw an error here because this is the case where open bracket is matched, E is through, but it is not ending with a close bracket. This else is for this. If. Okay. So this error will be thrown. If open bracket is matched, E is success, but there is no close bracket. Okay. So it's a very simple to write these procedures. We have to just follow the grammar. I'll again explain the F part. I check for F, there are two different options, right? And I don't use backtracking here. So I check whether input symbol is ID. If input symbol is ID, you advance the input pointer. Else if, meaning I have to try with the second option. If input symbol is open bracket, then you advance the pointer, then you call the function for E and you check whether the input symbol is close bracket now. If yes, you advance and return back. If close bracket is not there, you report an error. If the open bracket is also not there, report an error because it is not matched with ID, it is not matched with open bracket. So there are no third option, so report error. So there are the different ways of implementing this particular procedure. So these are the transition diagrams for the recursive descent parser that I have just explained to you all. So it's very easy. See, E gives T dash, right? So E gives T dash. T gives Ft dash. So T gives Ft dash. E dash gives plus T E dash or epsilon. So E dash gives plus T E dash or epsilon. Only two are remaining. T dash gives asterisk f T dash or epsilon. So T dash gives asterisk f T dash or epsilon. Finally, f gives open bracket E close bracket or ID. F gives open bracket E close bracket or ID. So I've just drawn transition diagrams for all those reductions. And these are the simplified transition diagrams from above. I've just tried to optimize it. Okay, for example, for E dash, it is plus T E dash or epsilon, right? So plus T and again E dash. So for E dash, I'm coming it here on epsilon. Okay, so this, you all understood this, right? E dash is plus T E dash or epsilon, right? So it is plus T and again you are coming to E dash, which is this diagram itself. So on epsilon and coming here. So plus T E dash or epsilon. This I have optimized by putting, this is epsilon, which is as good as nothing. So it is plus T, plus T, plus T, and on epsilon go to final state. Then another example is of E, which is T E dash. So T, and I have substituted E dash diagram over here. Okay, and this I have tried to optimize. This is T and then followed by plus T, right? So it is as good as 1 T definitely has to be there. Okay, so 1 T and plus T, plus T, plus T, on epsilon you go there. For T, it was F T dash. So F and T dash. So what is the optimized form of T dash? This. Just like how I converted this E dash, similarly T dash is converted. These are just optimized simplified transition diagrams. So now we move on to the new type of parsers called predictive parsers. Predictive parsers are efficient way of implementing your recursive descent parser. So we know now what is a recursive descent parser. Recursive descent parser, what are the preconditions? We have to eliminate left recursion and we have to perform left factoring. After we eliminate left recursion and after we perform left factoring, we are ready to write a recursive procedures for the latest grammar. So how to implement these recursive descent parsers internally? So one is using predictive parsers. It's an efficient way of implementing recursive descent parser by handling a stack of activation records. Okay, so it's a very simple way. I have a stack here. Okay, this is a parsing table, this is a input string. Okay, so this is how it is represented. So parsing table that I have drawn here is a two-dimensional array where capital A is a non-terminal, small a is a terminal or a dollar. Dollar is end of string. Okay, so in this input a plus b is the input and dollar is end of string. Clear? So in the parsing table that I have shown here, it's a two-dimensional array made up of non-terminal versus terminal or a dollar. On the stack, X is the symbol on top of the stack and A is the current input symbol. Okay, so if this X is equal to A or a dollar, which is equal to dollar, parser halts and announces successful completion of the parsing. Okay, so I will explain to you all how the predictive parsers work as far as the parsing goes. So there is one stack maintained on which initially when the parsing is started, we place the starting symbol of the grammar on the stack and also a dollar. Okay, so dollar is placed at the start followed by the starting symbol, and I have an input string over here. Okay, so this is a parsing table which is there over here, which is a two-dimensional array of non-terminals and terminals. It looks like this. I'll just show you all. Parsing table looks like this, in which what we do is all non-terminals we write it here and all terminals we write it here. Okay, so we are just going to learn how to parse first using predictive parsing, and then in the later sessions we'll learn how to construct this table. So if you are having one question in your mind like how to construct this table, no worries at all. I will make it very easy. Just please hold for a moment. So now let's consider that this table is given to you all ready-made and we just need to learn how to parse using this table. After we learn how to parse using this table, then I will teach you all how to construct this table. So construction of this table, please keep it aside as of now. Just consider I give you this table ready-made and we'll just learn now how to parse it. Construction of the table we'll learn later. Okay. So this is the format of the parsing table in which we just note down all the non-terminals here and we note down the terminals here. Okay. So whenever I say we refer stack comma input in the parsing, it's actually this. So suppose capital E is on the top of the stack and ID is the next input character, then the parser will come here and it will read E comma ID. It will read this. Suppose capital E is on the top of the stack and plus is the next input character, it will read E comma plus, which is nothing here. If capital E is on the top of the stack and input is asterisk, it will read E comma asterisk, which is nothing over here. If capital E is on the top of the stack, if open bracket is the next input character, it will read capital E comma open bracket, that is this part. If capital E is on the top of the stack, close bracket is the next input character, it will read this part. If capital E is on the top of the stack, dollar is the next input character, it will read this part. Are you all getting it? So when I say the topmost non-terminal is taken from the stack and for a particular input character this table is read, it's this. It comes here and it reads this. So if I say I am to read capital T on ID, which cell it will read? Capital T on ID, it will read this cell. Capital T on open bracket, which cell it will read? Capital T on open bracket, this cell it will read. So when I say capital F on ID, capital F on ID, it will read this. When I say capital F on open bracket, capital F on open bracket, it will read this. Is this clear? This is the table that is given to you right now. And whenever I say F comma ID, it refers this. Whenever I say F comma open bracket, it reads this. Whenever I say T comma open bracket, it reads this. When I say E dash comma plus, it will read this. When I say E dash comma dollar, it will read this. When I say T dash comma plus, it will read this. Are you all getting? When I say E comma ID, it will read this. When I say E comma open bracket, read this. E dash comma close bracket, read this. T comma open bracket, read this. Simple matrix reading. So now in this example, let's consider X is on the top of the stack. It checks whether X is equal to, now this is the input string. So input pointer is pointing here and one pointer is pointing to topmost stack element. If the topmost element on the stack is equal to the current input character and if it is also equal to dollar, meaning input is over, dollar is the last character in the input, it is just to mark the end of string. So what this line explains is if the topmost element on the stack is equal to the current element, which is dollar, that means dollar matches dollar, my parsing is over. If the topmost element on the stack matches the current element, which is also equal to dollar, that means dollar is equal to dollar, parsing is over. So it announces successful completion of the parsing. Simple. Understanding, right? The first statement says if X is equal to A is equal to dollar, that means dollar is equal to dollar and dollar is on the top of the stack. If that's the case, your input parsing is over. Second point says if X is equal to A, but it is not equal to dollar, that means topmost element on the stack is equal to your current input character, but it is not equal to dollar. That means parsing is not yet over. So if the topmost element of the stack is equal to current input character, parser pops the topmost element of the stack and advances the input character to the next input symbol. Correct? So if the topmost element of the stack matches the current input, then the algorithm says pop the topmost element from the stack and increment the input pointer because it has already matched. Next point says if the x is a non-terminal, if the topmost element of the stack is a non-terminal, then program consults the table which I just showed you just now for x comma a. So it consults this table, like for example f comma id, e comma open bracket, e dash comma plus, something like that. So if the topmost element of the stack is a non-terminal, it consults this table for that non-terminal comma current input symbol. Okay, and that particular entry will be either a production or it might be an empty cell which is an error. For example, f comma id is a production, t comma id is a production, e dash comma id there is nothing. That means while parsing, if you get e dash as topmost element of the stack and id as the current input symbol, when you come to table it has nothing in it. That means it's a parsing error. Understanding? If the topmost element of the stack is a non-terminal, then it matches it with the id. Suppose topmost element is a non-terminal and the current input symbol is always a terminal, it comes to this table. So in the example, if topmost non-terminal is e dash and the current input symbol is id, just for example, then it will come e dash comma id, there is nothing here. That means it is an error. So the algorithm says when we refer to a table, it will either be a production or it will be empty. That means an error. So if e dash is topmost non-terminal on the stack and plus is the current input symbol, it's a production. And if e dash is the topmost element of the stack and id is the current input symbol, it's nothing, which is as good as error. Okay. So if x is the non-terminal, that is the topmost element of the stack is a non-terminal, it consults that table which I just shown you. This entry will be either a production or a error. If there is an empty cell over there, that means it's an error. If there is a production defined over there in a cell, then parser replaces the topmost non-terminal with its production. Simple. If the topmost non-terminal is a non-terminal, it refers to the table which I just showed you. That non-terminal comma current input symbol. If you get some production there, parser replaces that non-terminal with its production. And if that cell is empty over there in the table, you report an error. That's it. So I'll just brief you all again about this parsing. What exactly we do here? If the topmost element of the stack is equal to current input symbol which is equal to $, it means $is equal to $. That means $, is on the top of the stack, $, is the current input symbol. That means parsing is over. Just announce successful completion and come out. Second step says if the topmost symbol is equal to current input symbol but which is not equal to $. Okay, so if it is not equal to $, that means input parsing is not yet over, and the very point that it matches the current input string, that means the topmost element on the stack is a terminal here. Because please remember, the input string cannot contain non-terminals. Input string cannot contain non-terminals, it just contains terminals. So the very point that topmost element matches the current input symbol, it means it's matching and it's a terminal. So it is just cancelling out, sort of. Increment the input pointer and pop the element from the stack. So in this use case, when the topmost element matches the current input symbol, it means the topmost element of the stack is a terminal which matches the current input terminal. So advance the input pointer, that means saying it is parsed, and pop it off the terminal from the topmost stack. Okay. The next use case is if topmost element of a stack is a non-terminal. If topmost element of the stack is a non-terminal, you just come to this particular table and you read a cell where one entity is the topmost element of a stack which is non-terminal and the second entity is the current input character. So if For example, topmost element of a stack is E dash, and if the current input symbol is plus, it will read this cell. If the topmost element of the stack is E dash, current input symbol is plus, it will read this cell. Okay, and it will pop that topmost element from the stack and it will replace it with its production. If the topmost element of the stack is non-terminal but which doesn't have an entry for a particular terminal in that table, that means it's an error. In that case, report an error. Simple. So this is the algorithm for parsing your input with the stack. Okay, so let X be the topmost element of the stack and let A be the next input symbol. Please remember, input symbols are always terminals. So in this case, he is saying keep on repeating this. If the topmost element of the stack is X and A is the input symbol, if X is a terminal or a dollar, okay, then meaning the topmost element of the stack, if it is a terminal or a dollar, check whether that terminal matches with the input terminal. If yes, that means the terminal which is on the top of the stack matches with current input. Just cancel it out, which is as good as deleting the topmost element from the stack and also incrementing the input pointer. Else, error. That means the topmost element of the stack, which is a terminal now, is not matching with the current input. So parsing is failed. So report an error. If the topmost element of the stack is not a terminal or a dollar, then I have to go to that table. So I have to read, M is the table. I have to read non-terminal comma terminal. If it is a production, pop X from the stack and replace it with the production. Simple. Okay. So if the topmost element of the stack is a terminal, check whether it matches the input character. If it matches input character, great. It cancel them off. If it doesn't match the input character, that means there is an error. Because topmost element is a terminal, input character is a terminal, they are not matching. So parsing is not success. So if it matches, cancel them off because it is matching. So pop that element from the stack and also increment the input pointer. If topmost element of the stack is a non-terminal, please read that table. Okay, non-terminal versus terminal. And if that particular cell of non-terminal versus terminal is a production, replace the topmost element which is a non-terminal with its production. Else you report an error. Simple. So we'll see the example of predictive parser using this algorithm in my next session on compilers. Thank you.